For the gaming world, how do you feel like, how can direct response be applied? Do you still think it's viable if tweaked? Yeah, God, I think about this so much. Such a great question. It has to be, right? Because if you know anything about marketing, I know you do. Direct response is just human psychology. It just works, right? Because that's how people are set up. So direct response has to work. I just don't know how. It has to. One way that I know that direct response can work is through email campaigns. Yeah. So when we're talking about direct response, we're talking about stuff like this, where it's like you put something in like a newspaper, and then you say, send me a message or do a call to action in some way to get the user engaged. The way that you see this a lot is like if you go to like really famous marketers, you'll see there'll be like an opt-in, like start the quiz, right? This is a direct response. Do you know your earning potential? Like you can start the quiz to find out, and you can go like here, and there'll be a call to action like every one of these pages where you can sign up for courses, get the inside scoop, get started today, get on an email list, some kind of call to action there. This is one of the best copywriters in the world. He might be the best copywriter in the world. I think he is. So yeah, I think there definitely is a way to incorporate it. The way that I've successfully incorporated it is email lists. I think email is still the third or second most powerful form of marketing in the world. What do you think some of the most important habits are to build outside of working out, meditating, and reading? The only thing I would add to that list, that's an incredible list, is I would become very aware of how you spend your time. So I actually am super. I want to use a certain word, but I'm very dedicated is the word I'll use. I was going to use a gamer word to say this, but yeah, I'm very dedicated to keeping track of my time. So I actually keep track of every single hour that I spend doing anything. So this will blow your mind, right? Like I don't recommend doing this, but like for the week of 2/11 to 2/18. I spent 4 hours in complete dead time just staring into space, 46 hours sleeping, 19 hours gaming, 36 hours streaming, 12 hours of dedicated time with my girlfriend, 7 hours of dedicated time working on like productive creative measures, 7 hours of exercise, and 10 hours of dinner eating, for example. So like, and I know that like every week, but that's like really crazy, right? You don't have to do that. Like all you need to do is you have to write down in your day what you accomplished or what you want to accomplish. Like at the end, I'd have like a daily review, a journal. I would journal. That's what I would do. So if you want to start getting serious about success, you have to take your time more seriously than anything else, right? You have to take your time more seriously than how much money you make, for sure. The whole idea of exchanging time for money is booty, dude. You want to get out of that as fast as possible. It's a really bad model. It's a bad pipeline, right? If you're making $20 per hour, or even if you're making $100 per hour, or in my case, like in consulting, I can consult for $500 an hour, right? There's plenty of people that'd be really happy to pay me that, and I just forget to respond to their emails or whatever. And that's still a bad trade because the leverage that you can get if you build a system is potentially infinite, right? So you always have to think in terms of like your time is like your most important resource, and your time to like money ratio is something you should be aware of. So like what your time is worth. My time is worth a lot less than I was at CLG, for example, right? So when I was a CEO at CLG, I ran a 105-person company. The company was worth $35 million. So you can imagine what an hour of my time is worth. It's worth a lot, right? An hour of my time, if I spend that going spaghetti over like dealing with some issue that I shouldn't be dealing with, or just staring into space, is bad. That's a loss of company revenue and my revenue and equity by extension of that. And you have to look at your entire life in that prospect. Because if your time is only worth like $10 an hour, well, then you should probably be doing things to improve that ratio, right? Either by learning new skills or training yourself or looking for better jobs, whatever you can do. If your time is worth too much and it's worth like $200 to $500 an hour, even more than that, or like $5,000 an hour or whatever, well, then you have to start looking into like, how is my extraneous time being spent, which is like, that's the stage I'm in, right? Is like, how much time am I spending on things that just don't make sense for me to do because there's not a realistic ROI in doing so. Does that make sense? Is college a meme? No. College is great. But like when I look at most people making mistakes in terms of their life success, it's because their time management is bad. Like the average person spends like 5 or 6 hours on social media, a bunch of hours watching Netflix or TV or things like that, a bunch more hours watching YouTube. And like before you know it, like there's like 24 hours in a day is a lot. It's actually an incredible amount, even with 8 hours of sleep. You can get so much done if you want to in that amount of time. In 16 hours, it's ridiculous what you can get done. It's like crazy. That's why there are human beings that are like so crazy effective, like Richard Branson, that run 120 companies because they understand delegation, one, but two, they're just very effective with their time. And they still have time to like go on vacations and chill out and do whatever the hell they want. It's just that they're very conscious of how they spend their time. I'm going to college right now. What's the best thing to do for money when I can get a good ROI? I mean, you should be able to do something. You should have a really good strength by the time you graduate college, right? You should be able to point to something and be like, I can do that, and I can do that better than most people. So to quote Peter Drucker, is like a really famous guy on like management thinking, you should focus less on making money and instead focus more on trying to be useful. So the question you should be able to answer when you get out of college is, how can I be useful to someone else? And I don't care what your degree is. Like your degree could be in baloney, or it could be in, like research. It could be science, it could be STEM. It could be like jacking off animals, like whatever you want to do. But like, how do I be useful to people? And preferably, how do I be useful in a way that not other people can duplicate? And that's going to define your value, right? Because society will pay you for what usefulness you bring to the table. And if you don't bring value, then you won't get far, right? This has to do with what I value. I will try to become a researcher, which I know is the best decision money ROI-wise, but will definitely make me the most happy. Happiness is kind of a meme, dude. I mean, I guess I'll cry in the back of my Lexus, etc. But like, there's so much research that shows that like a certain level of financial stability predicates happiness, if not is dependent on it. So like, I think this whole meme of like, well, I'm happy, like maybe there's like, but I think it's an exception to the rule. You should be able to do something that's useful that provides a base level of financial success for yourself. Like, and I'm not talking about making like 300K a year, 500K a year. Yeah, that like doesn't matter. But the general accepted number is 74,000, right? Is like the number where after that, there's not much more of an increase in happiness. But I'd say like anywhere between like the 50 to 70 range, you want to land at. I don't see many people that are like, I love my fucking life, that are making like 5K a year. I just don't. And the statistics reflect this. But yeah, you don't have to turn that around and make like making $5 million a year is not going to make you any happier. If anything, it will probably make you less happy because it's going to be so much more stress, which is why I've opted to not be a CEO again, right? That's why I'm a CMO here and not a CEO somewhere else. Because the amount of stress is just like way high for the ROI. And that's just a personal evaluation you have to make. Some people want to be massive CEOs and stuff like that, and that's cool. There's a certain amount of prestige and like cool factor that comes with that too.